This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to CWK Live every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I am your host, Dan Z. Thrilled to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. All right, Ross is here doing some design work, but Ross, we're happy to be in the background for you, helping you to get in that creative mindset. Mason, of course, is here. Hello, Mace. There is Jason and Blake. Hello, everybody. Mary is here, of course. Terry is back. Good to see you, Terry. And Mita is here. This is the way. It's CWK Day. Excellent.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
Aaron, hello. Yes, just what the doctor ordered indeed. As you can see, I'm sporting the brand new CWK Live t-shirt that is on sale in our TeePublic store. It's www.coffeewithkenobi.com/shop. There's going to be a couple more t-shirts popping up over the next couple of days and weeks. And if you are a member of the CWK Alliance, I think you'll really appreciate them as well. Hello, Christina. Good to have you back on the show. Daniel says General Kenobi. That's very fun and entertaining. Good to see you, my friend. You got a new Facebook profile picture, I see. Excellent. Well, honestly, what's brewing this week, there was a, I think, 18-minute video about the Halcyon, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, the hotel, the Star Wars hotel. We found out, if you watch that video, it was, again, about 18 minutes long. It was basically a roundtable of the Imagineers talking about their thought process, the building, the creation, and what we can expect. Of course, they were vague with a lot of it. However, we did find out that you're going to be able to cosplay on the ship, which is pretty cool. And you don't often get to do that on Disney property. And another cool thing, I think at least, is when you're there, if you just want to be in the background and be a bystander and not be a part of the specific story, that's more than okay. You can go to your room, your cabin, take a nap, just relax, have fun, or you can be completely immersed in the story. Very, very cool. But we know it's going to be opening in the spring of 2022. That has never been fully announced before. So that's anywhere, I guess, between March and early June. So you've got a timetable, an idea of when this thing is actually going to open. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't, of course, mention that when you do decide, if you do want to decide to book a trip to the Galactic Star Cruiser, the Star Wars Hotel, I would highly suggest going to our travel partner, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Mary says, I love the symbol or logo they had on the table. I do too. The picture, or the video itself, it looked like something that Doug Chang designed, very similar to Aurebesh or other Star Wars symbols and a lot of things you see at Galaxy's Edge. Terry says, looking forward to the Starship. Definitely thinking about doing this early on. I think it will be really fun. Daniel, you will totally be set up. You can definitely bring your Jedi kit. And Matthew says, 14 days until his trip. Wow, you're just right. You're going to Galaxy's Edge. I'm excited for you, man. Blake says, let's start a GoFundMe for all of our CWK Live family to go together and cause mayhem. I like it, Blake. I like it. I think that is a great, great idea. Speaking of great ideas, well, not that. I forgot to, whoops, that was a shameless plug. What I meant to show you is the new one. So let me upload the new one here for you. I have some new merchandise that is being discussed that Hasbro shared with me a little bit ago. So let me download that for you and upload it to the show. Basically, they're starting to do some new cool stuff with, let's see, where did I put it? They're starting to do some new cool stuff with different kinds of lightsabers. And how to, can you see that right now? Can you see my screen? Hopefully you can. Doing a little bit of tricks here. Let's see. There we go. All right. Josh is here. Good to have you, Josh. And 23 days for Terry to go to Galaxy's Edge for the first time. That's very exciting, dude. I'm very excited for you. All right, let's try this again. So this is gone. let me bring in what I was trying to show you initially, which is the new announcement of the fun stuff that they've got cooking in Hasbro. Hasbro always has cool things going on in the world of Star Wars and collecting. But to me, this was pretty cool. They have customizable lightsaber hilts. The news about it, though, and they've had stuff like this before. On the right, you can see there's a dark saber, and you're going to be able to customize your dark saber in various ways to go. Christina says, it's going to be a while before I can go to Galaxy's Edge. Australia's borders won't open for a long time to come. That's probably true. Well, Christina, that just means when you are able to, it will be so much worth it and worth the wait. All right, so here's one. Meantime, I know you'll like this. I know you're a big Ahsoka fan. Here's another part of the lightsaber forge, but this is based on the Ahsoka version of her lightsaber. Now, it is the hilt exactly like it, not entirely, but it's pretty fun. Mason loves it. Look at all those exclamation points. He is fired up. Josh says it'll be worth the wait. Hopefully things will get better soon. I sure hope so. So yeah, those are basically all I've got for you this week. Blake says, us Americans love you Aussies. There you go. Matthew, my battery's almost dead. I want to jump in and say how much I love this episode. Best one yet. We'll catch you on the audio feed. Okay, Matthew, we'll definitely save a spot for you. And if you want to put in the CWK Cafe your top 5 moments from this episode, or if anybody wants to, definitely feel free to do that. All right, well, speaking of top 5, let's jump in. Top 5 moments from the Bad Batch episode War-Mantle. War-Mantle is the 14th of 16 episodes of season 1. To me, for my money, one of the better episodes of this season. I'm pretty confident that Blake is going to agree with that as well. And I know a lot of you probably will too, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Give us your top 5s. Let's go with number 5, of course, from War-Mantle. For me, number 5 is Hunter tracking. It's been a while since we've seen Hunter be able to use the skill set that he has, that extra special ability to be able to track people, to track things, to be able to go through the woods or other areas and find. I mean, that's part of why he's called Hunter. And seeing him do that early on to try to find who we later find out is Gregor, I loved. It was good to see him go back to his roots as a character. Christina says it was hard to narrow down a top 5 fantastic episode. I think I need a top 10. There's certainly a lot of them to choose from. Mary says number 5 is Gregor. Excellent. Christina says Gregor and his laugh. Great connection to Gregor and Rebels, also showing that maybe Order 66 was not enough to ensure the clones' loyalty beyond the execution of the Jedi. Perhaps because the inhibitor chip ensured loyalty to the Republic, not the Empire. Also, Gregor's previous traumatic brain injury may have affected the functioning. Oh, that's interesting. I guess we'll find out, hopefully. Number 5 for Jason Wrecker in the gray area. Echo's got a point. Tech's got a point. The kid's got a point. His humor provided a nice balance to the tension throughout the episode. Yes, it was cool to see Wrecker as a consistent, humorous foil throughout. Number 5 for Minta is Gregor's return. A lot of people are loving seeing Gregor back. Number 5 for Terry, first generation Stormtroopers looks closely like Ralph McQuarrie concept art designs. So excited to see this. I agree. And yes, it not only is it closely, I feel like it is. I feel like it completely is. And I hope that the 501st gets on that and designs some of these because it was really cool. Daniel says the awesome dogfight air battle. It was nice to see that in Star Wars. I feel like we haven't seen a good chase Star Cruiser sequence like with this degree of excitement in a while, so it was really fun. Blake, fantastic episode seeing the change in the Imperial armor. Definitely. Number 5 for Mason is Omega copying Hunter. At the very beginning, Hunter is twirling his knife on the Marauder, and Omega looks at him with her power cup. I don't know what it's called. Some sort of a device that's used to fix things in Star Wars. And she's twirling it around because Hunter is. And Mason put that as his number 5. It's pretty fun. Number 5 for Josh. Tech out of his depth. I really like it when Tech accidentally sets off the alarm. That makes me sound like a jerk, but I thought it was an important moment. Possibly that'll be an ongoing conflict with him. Getting in situations he doesn't know how to handle. You know what? You don't sound like a jerk. I think that would be a cool twist because that would make him think. It would make him react. It would make him uncomfortable. And sometimes when you make characters uncomfortable, I think that allows for opportunities for growth. Minta's on her number 4, which we're about to get to, and her number 4 is Wrecker agreeing with everything about the mission. Pretty funny. Josh likes your pick. Mason says it's a very important moment, and I agree with you. All right, Minta gave her number 4. My number 4 is the A New Hope music. You may have noticed as they're going through the hallways of this base, you hear some of the echoes from the Death Star sequence when Luke, Han, and Leia are inside the Death Star in A New Hope. And you hear that music throughout the middle of this episode. It was such a cool callback, and it was consistent, which it kind of added to the adrenaline of the episode for me anyway. Joseph says, "Hi there, sorry to join late." Joseph, so nice to have you, my friend. Don't be sorry at all. It's great to have you on the show. Daniel says, Imperial Surplus already makes these TK kits. Number 4 for Christina, War-Mantle, seeing how far the Empire is coming, replacing the clones and showing that clones were used as teachers, and the connection to Rebels, Season 2, Episode 9, Stealth Strike. Christina, you have done your homework. Very cool. When Admiral Brom Titus offers Rex to return to teaching positions in the Empire, also the music and the aesthetics of the base, amazing. Josh says, yeah, I picked up the music too. Kevin is killing it. I agree. Jason's number 4. Gregor. I love seeing another Rebels character brought back into the storyline. I also thought it was funny when he called the uncooperative stormtrooper an insubordinate plebe. Yeah, I thought that was funny. I wonder if that will start to be a little fun Star Wars insult. Mary's number 4. Gonky helping in the air fight and then sacrificing himself. Wasn't that cool? And when he said Gonky, I thought of you and last week when we were doing Facebook Live and the fact that Gonky suddenly has that name. So it's kind of funny. Number 4 for Blake, seeing the Commando Troopers. Was a big fan of the Commando video game years ago and was geeking out seeing it in canon. It was cool. And I believe some of the creators on Lucasfilm on Twitter were talking about it as well, which is pretty neat. Terry's number 4 is Gregor. Number 4 for Terry is Gregor. Again, great to see Gregor back. I loved him in the Clone Wars. So it was cool to see him transitioning to the character we know later in Rebels, many years later in the show. Number 4 for Mason is just hearing TK troopers and having them in it. And, you know, when Tech is at that particular device trying to figure out what is going on with the Empire and seeing who is actually on board this ship. And when he is looking into the machine and he sees that there are 50 clone commandos and 1,000 TKs. He's like, what's the TK designation? That was pretty cool. So Mason, that for him was number 4. All right, number 4 for Daniel. That's one first generation TK armor. Yes, great stuff. I mean, great design. Anytime you see new stormtroopers and they make it work and it doesn't feel forced, I love it. I love it. Number 3. Let's go into number 3. Oh, sorry. Josh has a number 4. Hunter's selflessness. He says, I really like this. Him ordering the batch to leave despite him being left behind. I thought the shot was also very symbolic. While Hunter is talking to them via comm, the Imperials are coming towards him in the background, but they're out of focus. This reflects Hunter not worrying about himself and focusing on the safety of his squad. Very good, Josh. I like that. The symbolism there is very, 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 very impressive. It's impressive they're thinking of it. It's super cool that you brought it up. Well done, sir. Number 3 for me is sneaking into the base. Just the first part when they all jump onto that giant elevator shaft or in the elevator shaft and lower themselves down. I thought that was very exciting. Kind of a cool, like Sean Connery, James Bond thing when he's sneaking into where Blofeld and his evil villains are and his companions. It reminded me of kind of that old school heist film where you're trying to sneak into the enemy's base. I love that. Number 3 for Minta is the Ralph McQuarrie Stormtrooper design. Making it to the screen. Super cool. I love it. Number 3 for Christina, Hunter. Weighing all the opinions of his team before making a decision, and how that is followed up by his order for Wrecker and Omega to return to the ship. It shows his leadership skills. There are times when it's appropriate to get the opinion of your team. And then when you need, fell off. When there's no time to ask questions. Very good. Thank you, Christina. Very well thought out. Jason's number 3, Echo's insistence on rescuing the Reg, based on the Bad Batch coming to rescue him. It added a level of humanity to the situation. Yes, it certainly did. Brian's number 3, Hunter critically thinking about everything in the mission. Yeah, he was really on it in this episode, I thought. Terry's number 3, musical score with A New Hope scores. Great stuff. I don't know the particular name of that music, but I love that it was in there. Number 3 for Mary. Echo's strong connection to and trust of Rex, his determination to help the clones the same way he was helped by them. I love that too. In fact, that may show up pretty soon. Number 3 for Blake. Echo really having a voice in this episode, very similar to Mary's. Daniel, Imperial Surplus is the company that makes ABS armor, by the way. I figured it was. Kind of like a Novos, right? Daniel, is that what you were saying? Josh, for number 3, Wrecker putting his armor on Omega. It's very brief and subtle, but right after Hunter orders Omega and Wrecker to go back to the ship, it's very clear that Omega is disappointed, and Wrecker, recognizing this, puts his armor on her as they walk back. I like that too. I thought it was a sweet little moment. Number 3 for Mason is Gregor, and he wrote it in all caps because he too is very excited, like many of you, to see Gregor back on screen and to get more of the adventures again, to see where he goes from the Clone Wars to Rebels. Now we've got a little bit more of an idea of that. Who knows? Maybe we'll see Wolf at some point too. So that's great. All right, let's jump into number 2. Echo's loyalty. To me, Echo a couple of times really speaking up and saying, you know what? I was on Skako Minor and you didn't know much. You didn't have much to go on. You came in, Rex came in and saved me. If not for Rex, I'd probably still be there. So we owe it. If Rex thinks there's a situation, or if there's a reason to go, then we need to go. And I love that Echo's just fiercely dedicated and loyal. No one's brought up Rex yet, surprisingly enough. Number 3 for Daniel, Wrecker and his good point with each character. Yeah, that was hilarious. I love that too. Terry's number 2, first mention of a TK reference and that they are recruits instead of clones. I love that. And we'd sort of heard hints and rumblings about that through canon, but to see it specifically spelled out and to see Echo react to that and all the Bad Batch react to that, I thought was really neat. Let's see. Number 2 for Christina, Echo. Finally, more of Echo. I love how he advocates for Rex and to save Gregor. The Bad Batch are used to an us and them mentality when it comes to the other clones, but Echo reminds them they are now in this together and deserve to be saved just as he was. Exactly. Number 2 for Mita, Hunter's willingness to turn himself to the enemy in order to protect the team. Yes. I thought that was great and similar to my number 2. Jason's number 2, Peril, sneaking and fighting through the Imperial base, tech triggering the alarm, trapped while waiting for extraction, the aerial battle, a white-knuckle ride from start to finish. Isn't that the truth? That was very similar to my number 3. I love that too. Very intense. Yes, but like a Novos, but he actually delivers. Very good. Good to know, Daniel. Number 2 for Josh. Stormtroopers, as mentioned before, it's straight out of McQuarrie's sketchbook, which was awesome. Very cool to see the full purpose and scale of Project War-Mantle. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Number 2 for Blake. The ending with Hunter and Crosshair, a fantastic lead to next week, and this is the confrontation we've waited weeks to see play out. That's right, and we had to wait. When it was over, Mason and I were like, oh man, we got to wait a week to find out. But now we're just, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 more sleeps, everybody, until we get to see what happens. Number 2 for Mary, the air fight scene, very cinematic. We also got a Wilhelm scream as one of the troopers fell during the fight inside the tunnel. Oh, that's right. You know, it happens so regularly. I didn't even put that together, but that's a good catch. Number 2 for Brian. Uncle Wrecker, he puts his arm around Omega and plays games with her while waiting to hear back from the group. It looked like they were playing checkers too, didn't it? Josh says, I should have put Echo in my top 5. I really like Echo in addition to his lasting loyalty and friendship with Rex. Also feels like he owes Rex for saving him. And I see that, let's see where to go. I thought I saw number 1 here somewhere. Number 1, Terry has a number 1, so I'm going to plop that up. But let's give me you Mason's number 2. Number 2 for Mason's Clone Commandos. Like Blake, he was very excited to see that armor for the Clone Commandos. Mason knows this armor the most from Star Wars Battlefront 2. But, of course, it's also the classic Commando game as well. So it was cool to see the Clone Commandos there doing their thing. So let's go jump into number 1. Number 1 of your top 5 favorite moments from War-Mantle. Number 1 for Terry. The cliffhanger scene between Crosshair and Hunter. Friday's just 4 days away. That's right. I cannot wait. Number 1 for me has been mentioned several times, but I will plug it here. McQuarrie armor. I absolutely love Ralph McQuarrie. He's responsible for so much of the iconography and the symbolism of Star Wars, even leading all the way to Galaxy's Edge. And seeing that armor, piecing together what it was and the inspiration is another reminder that there are no wasted ideas in Star Wars, that they always find a way to recycle them and make them work for the story they're trying to tell. And the fact that it's Ralph McQuarrie, having more Ralph McQuarrie stuff, I love it. So cool. So cool. All right. Let's see. Daniel's number 2 was the amazing animation of the soil when Hunter drags his hand through it. The tree conifer needles were so defined. I'm continually blown away by the graphics. Yes. I agree. That was very nice. Number 1 for Christina Omega, flying the ship, but also her heartbreak at leaving Hunter behind. That was very sad. I agree. Amira's Hunter when she was captured by Cad Bane, and highlights how strong the bond has become between the two of them. Yes, a very powerful, emotional moment. Number 1 for Jason, Signs of the Empire. I'm definitely on the Rebel side of things, but it was cool to experience the evolution of the Stormtrooper armor, TK designation, the termination of the Kaminoan contracts, and the Death Star music. It really drew me into the episode, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Yes, we haven't mentioned the Kaminoans yet, but very tragic what's going on with them. Meantime, number 1, Crosshair confronting Hunter in his cell. I know, scary. We're all very excited to see what's going to happen with that, for sure. Dave is here. What's up, Dave? Dave's number 1 is cliffhanger. What will Crosshair do? Exactly. What will Crosshair do? What will Hunter do? And how quickly is the Bad Batch going to go back and try to save them? We'll find out soon enough. Number 1 for Blake, the OT vibes. This episode had a pure and New Hope feeling, and I will always be my number 1. Oh, that's cool. I don't think I knew that. Brian's number 1, Echo, Echo, Echo. The look he gave Hunter when talking about helping Rex. We all froze when we watched the episode. Oh, cool. Nice call. Number 1 for Mary Hunter throughout the entire episode, using all of his skills, making the hard decisions for the team, his sacrifice on the planet, and the confrontation with Crosshair. Yes, Hunter is great. Still my favorite character from the Bad Batch, and he was awesome in this one. Number 1 for Daniel. Gregor being woven into the story. Good to hear his unique voice and giggle. Yes, that giggle's quite haunting, isn't it? Josh, Omega's closeness with Hunter, like Mason said earlier, this is first shown by her twirling the tool. By the end, we have a gut-wrenching and near tear-jerking moment where Omega is pleading for them to go back for Hunter. In perfect child mannerism, she even tugged on Wrecker as they flew away. So powerful. Let's see. Great acting by Michelle Ang. I agree. Number 1 for Mason. It's been mentioned a couple times, but when he just wrote down Wrecker's got a point. Because Wrecker, every time someone said something, he'd say, well, he's got a point. She's got a point. He's got a point. And it was hilarious. Wrecker was just, he had this complete same face. He agreed with everything everybody was saying. And I don't think he was just trying to pacify and ease tension. I think he legitimately agreed with the most recent thing he heard, which was very childlike and fun. Ian Wrecker is such an appealing, pleasing character. So, there you have it. Next week, we're going to be looking at your top 5 favorite moments from episode 15 of The Bad Batch, the penultimate episode of season 1, because we know we only got 16 episodes left. Penultimate means second to last. So we're excited about that. Got some ideas for some top 5s after we finish looking at season 1 of The Bad Batch. So that's going to be great. Speaking of great, now we're going to jump into Star Wars trivia. Now, you know the rules for Star Wars trivia on Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook Live. And here's how it works. Basically, it's this. Please don't look it up. Don't confront or consult the Star Wars book or any other Star Wars resources, but just go with your gut. The Force will be with you. I'm not going to know all of them. The odds are that you may not know all of them either. Either way, we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's do some Star Wars trivia, shall we? Let me change the screen here. Star Wars trivia. Ta-da! We do top 5s for Visions once it releases. You know what? We might. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. I guess that comes out fairly soonish. So possibly. I'm not sure if they will have the same kind of detail and depth, but I guess we'll find out very soon, won't we? Dave's going to use a somewhat useless brain. I don't think it's useless, buddy. I think you're making the world better for collectors everywhere based on what you always post on social media. All right, here we go. Number 1. Blake is fired up for Visions. Speaking of that, well, good. Okay, maybe we will do that. I don't know if you guys want to. Josh, Blake, everybody, let me know if you want to talk about Visions on the show, because we can definitely look into doing that. And thank you to all of you. I noticed a lot on social media, people tagging their friends, sharing the announcement of the Facebook Live show. Because the more people we bring to the fold, the more people we can add to the Star Wars community, which I'm so excited about. All right, number 1. Here we go. Let's see. Who suggests Tatooine is a comparatively safe haven to fix Queen Amidala's ship? Who suggests Tatooine as a comparatively safe haven to fix Queen Amidala's ship? While you're thinking of that, Christina says, yes, please, I'm looking forward to Visions. So that's 3 votes to talk about Star Wars Visions on Facebook Live. Okay. Jason says the answer is Obi-Wan Kenobi. I will share the question again. Who suggests Tatooine is a comparatively safe haven to fix Queen Amidala's ship? Joseph says Qui-Gon. Terry says Obi-Wan. Josh says Qui-Gon. Christina says Qui-Gon. Minta says Qui-Gon. Dave says Qui-Gon. Daniel says Kenobi. We're pretty split. It's either Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan based on this. Mary says Qui-Gon. Mason says Obi-Wan. Anybody else? Again, I'll read it one more time. Who suggests Tatooine is a comparatively safe haven to fix Queen Amidala's ship? The answer is the one and only Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there's the answer to the first one. Josh says the brains of the operation is Jar Jar. Yes, he is, but you already answered, buddy, so that one doesn't count. Blake says Kitster. So Blake, just go sit in the corner, buddy, and think about your silly answer, okay? Let's do that. Okay. Next one. What type of shielding protects the first Death Star's thermal exhaust port? What type of shielding protects the first Death Star's thermal exhaust port? What type of shielding protects the first Death Star's thermal exhaust port? Any ideas? Jason says ray shields. Anybody else want to weigh in on that one? Dave says ray shielding. The question is, what type of shielding protects the first Death Star's thermal exhaust port? Joseph says thermal. Terry's stumped. Brian says Acme. AKA not very good. Daniel says ray. Christina's not sure. Josh is thinking. The question again is, what type of shielding protects the first Death Star's thermal exhaust port? Terry says thermal shields. Mason says ray shields. Mary is not sure either. I'll read it one more time and then share the answer. Thermal rang a bell. Blake, that is actually not correct. Minta's not sure. The question is, what type of shielding protects the first Death Star's thermal exhaust port? The answer is ray shielding. Ray shielding. So if you said ray shields, you are correct. All right. Next question. This also comes to us from the prequels, like the first question I asked. This one is, how many terms does Padme Amidala serve as Naboo's queen? How many terms does Padme Amidala serve as Naboo's queen? Dun dun. I don't know what that music was. Joe says, ugh, that was tough. Hang in there, buddy. You got this. Terry says the answer is 2. Christina says 2. Josh says 2. Dave says 2. The question is, how many terms does Padme Amidala serve as Naboo's queen? Jason says 2. Brian says 2. Mary says 2. Mason says 2. Joseph says 2. And so does Daniel. By the way, the answer is 2. Everybody got that one right. Terry says she's limited to 2 terms. Minta agrees with that. Very, very good. All right, I'm going to come up with a much harder one for everybody, aren't I? Okay. Boy, those first two were easy. I'm not going to even bother asking you that one. Here's a good one. This takes you back to the original trilogy. What pilot has the call sign Red 3 during the first Death Star battle? Which pilot has the call sign Red 3 during the Death Star's first battle? What pilot has the call sign Red 3 during the first Death Star battle? Do you know the answer? This makes me realize we should do a prequel watch party. I think that'd be fun, actually. That'd be really fun to do. Terry says Porkins. That's the first guess. Jason says Biggs. You've got quite a few options for this one. Dave says Porkins as well. Again, the question is, what pilot has the call sign Red 3 during the first Death Star battle? Minta says Porkins. Joe says Biggs. Paul is here. What's up, Paul? I hope you're enjoying your new first baseman. Biggs is what Paul says. Josh says Wedge or Jar Jar. It is definitely not Jar Jar. Daniel says Wedge. Brian says Biggs. Christina says Wedge, just to be different. Again, the question for the last time is, what pilot has the call sign Red 3 during the first Death Star battle? Mary says Biggs. Mason says Spider-Ham. Mason, you and Blake are going to have to go in the corner. And don't be near any sharp objects because you guys are just being super silly. I do like the answer, but the answer is Biggs Darklighter. He is red 3. What do you mean so far? You should enjoy him forever. He's a former Cub, and we love him. We love Anthony Rizzo. Enjoy him. All right. Blake says, yes. I probably shouldn't put Blake and Mason in the corner. They're getting into too much mischief. All right, let's go on to our next question. Let's see. Interesting. Okay, here's another prequel one. What startling color are Anakin Skywalker's eyes at the end of his murderous rage on Mustafar? What startling color are Anakin Skywalker's eyes at the end of his murderous rage on Mustafar? Joseph is fired up that he got one. Well, of course you did. I told you would. Blake says yellow. Terry says yellow. Joseph says yellow. Minta says yellow. Yellow. Dave says red. Josh says red/yellow. Daniel says red. Brian says yellow. Christina says yellow. Paul says orange. Mary says yellow. Jason says yellow, and so does Dave. Now he's corrected himself. Anybody else? Mason, waiting on you, buddy. Yellow, red, orange. Those are the colors we have had guessed so far. The question is, what startling color are Anakin Skywalker's eyes at the end of his murderous rage on Mustafar? Mason says yellow. Anybody else? The answer to what startling color are Anakin Skywalker's eyes at the end of his murderous rage on Mustafar? The answer is yellow. See, maybe I should have auditioned for Jeopardy, right? How come I didn't get any votes? I would have loved to do that. Anyway, just kidding. This is even better. This is super fun. Okay. Let me look at this. Okay. No, that's too easy. Well, let's try this one. Whose capture, according to Queen Amidala, is the key to the Battle of Naboo? Whose capture, according to Queen Amidala, is the key to the Battle of Naboo? Dun 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 dun. That's Jurassic Park. Josh is picking an easy one. Paul says he blames Noah. Fair enough. But does Noah know you're blaming him? Just wanted to be clear. Jason says Newt Gunray. The question is, whose capture, according to Queen Amidala, is the key to the Battle of Naboo? Mita says Newt Gunray. Terry says the Viceroy. Dave says the Viceroy. Christina says Newt Gunray. Daniel says the Separatists. These are all good guesses. Anybody else? Gunray or Jar Jar. Intimidation. No one will dare face you if you have a Jar Jar on your side. Josh is on a Jar Jar roll. Mason says him. That's the right answer. Blake says I'm going to hear this answer and slap myself because I can hear that quote in my head. Mary says Newt. Brian says Newt. The question again is, whose capture, according to Queen Amidala, is the key to the Battle of Naboo? And the answer is Newt Gunray. I was pausing to hear if Blake slapped himself. I hope you don't, Blake. It's not worth it, buddy. It's just a Star Wars question. You'll get the next one. The answer is Newt Gunray's. His capture, according to the Queen, is the key to the battle. Joseph got it too. Okay, let's see. This one might be a little more tricky because of the way it's written. But let's see. Who loses a vicious duel inside the Senate Rotunda? Blake, I'm not even going to read that out loud. I don't want you to get anybody in trouble. But everybody can read on the screen if they want to. Who loses a vicious duel inside the Senate Rotunda? Jason says Yoda. Christina says Yoda. Who loses a vicious duel inside the Senate Rotunda? Joseph says what? Dave says Yoda. Blake says Yoda. Minta says Yoda. James is here. What's up, James? James says Yoda. The Senate Rotunda is a specific destination inside. Yes. Joe says Yoda. Josh says no one. Yoda escaped but failed to kill Sidious. Ooh, interesting answer. Mary says Yoda. Daniel says Yoda. Mason says Yoda. The answer is Yoda. The answer is Yoda. Okay. What V? No, that's too easy. Interesting. How many years does it take a growth accelerated clone to reach the virtual age of 20? How many years does it take a growth accelerated clone to reach the virtual age of 20? This is the last question of the night, by the way. How many years does it take a growth accelerated clone to reach the virtual age of 20? Christina says 10. Terry says 10. Joseph is not sure. Jason says 10. Dave says 6. James says 5. Mita says 10. Blake says nobody says half. Paul says wag 2. Daniel says 10. Mary says 10. Mason says 1 with a whole lot of zeros. What was that, a million? A billion? There you go. Mason says 10. We'll make it 10. Brian says 10. Josh says, I'd say 3 at first, but obviously they speed that up by the time the Clone Wars started. That's right. The question again is, how many years does it take a growth accelerated clone to reach the virtual age of 20? How many years does it take a growth accelerated clone to reach the virtual age of 20? The answer is 10. So nice job, everybody. We'll be back next month to do Star Wars trivia. I used to do it later in the month, but I guess I'll just do it the first week of the month. It'll be easier to remember than the third week or second week or blah, blah, blah. So we'll just do the first week of every month because they're lots of fun to do, and I love coming up with everything. Corey is here. What's up, Corey Club? Corey Club, the creator of this design. As I mentioned, Corey, I said we've got more designs coming very, very soon, so people are excited about that. Thanks, man. Thank you very much. I thought you might like that shirt, considering that you designed it, my friend. All right, very good. Well, again, next week we know we're going to look at the 15th episode in season 1 of The Bad Batch. But now, let's try again. Now, let's ask Dan Z. All right, here's your chance to ask me any questions you'd like to about The Bad Batch, about Star Wars, about what's going on in the world of Coffee with Kenobi. Questions about Galaxy's Edge, etc. I am happy to answer anything that I can. Mason says he likes your profile picture. Yes, your profile picture is pretty great, man. Why didn't the Cubs trade anyone to my Brewers? Dave, you're banned from Coffee with Kenobi for life. Come on, you can't say that kind of stuff. Just kidding. We love you. I think it's because they don't want to help the Brewers because the Brewers are already great. They're already great, Dave. They're going to go easily and win the division. We know this. So congratulations to you in advance, my friend. Terry says, thanks for your suggestions to listen to the Galaxy's Edge podcasts. Terry, you're welcome. I hope it helped a lot. I hope it got you excited about your big trip. I can't wait to see pictures and hear all about it. How am I feeling after the Cubs fire sale this week? Well, I'm better, but I honestly think I went through the 7 stages of grief. I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this. My wife's been a saint putting up with me moping around, being sad for a while. But it was tough, but ultimately, I think it's going to be a good thing. And those memories will never go away. Minta, do you have any predictions for the final 2 episodes of The Bad Batch? Yes, I predict it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to raise as many questions as it answers. That is my prediction. I know that's kind of a cop-out, but you know how I am about predicting. I end up being disappointed, so I just kind of let things lie. But that would be my guess/hope. James, do you think Captain Hauser's story is over or going to see more? I hope we get more, whether it's here or in a book or in a comic or something. I hope we get more of Hauser. He's pretty cool. Josh is starting a blog. I was wondering what tips you had for marketing a blog. Well, Josh, that is a loaded question. Initially, I would just say put your all into it, put your heart and soul into it, and spread the word. But there's more to it. If you really want to get super serious, you can certainly go over to danzmedia.com, and I can help you get that process started in a more formal sense. If you're interested in that, that would be fun. Did you know Rizzo is a rent-a player like Chapman? Do I think Rizzo's a rent-a player? I don't know. Because Chapman went from the Yankees to the Cubs, then won the World Series, then he went back to the Yankees. So if it went like that, that would be great, but that's pretty rare to happen. So I'm not sure. Do anything for Free Comic Book Day? You know what? We haven't talked about that yet, but usually we like to go to our local store and get a couple of free comics. What about you, man? Don't own any hot toys, Star Wars products, was going to buy that Boba Fett throne figure and go Miami Marlins, and I cry quietly in my corner. Hey, man, you've had some good memories with those Marlins. They beat my Cubbies in the playoffs, I believe, last year. So don't worry, my friend. I'm sure things will continue to get better for you. Mason and I were very jealous that you got to see Rizzo. Mason says he wants Bryant back, and Mason, your dad agrees. I want Bryant back too, for sure. Will I do a podcast about the High Republic books? Yes, I will. We did some for the first round. We haven't actually done any for the new round, the second wave, because we've been covering the Bad Batch so closely. But yes, Christina, we will definitely be doing podcasts about the High Republic books. Thank you for asking about that. Sorry, not Star Wars related. Not at all, man. Happy to answer anything I have. Let's see. Hauser novel would be great. I agree, Josh, would be great. Any new updates on your next book project? Not yet, Mr. Club. My latest book is certainly going to be Star Wars Character Encyclopedia, coming out November 2nd, so we haven't said much about that just yet. Daniel says, tripping as Kenobi at my local shop in Rutland. Oh, cool, Daniel. I hope you share some pictures. I would love to see them. Did I watch the Master of the Universe update on Netflix? Yes, Brian, I did. I loved it. I did a podcast with Scott Murray and Jeff McGee on Scott's show, Following the Nerd. It's going to come out, I believe, Wednesday. We talk all about it, so I'll be sure to post that in the cafe so you can listen to it. What Star Wars games are you guys playing? These days, actually, we haven't been playing a lot of Star Wars games. We've been playing checkers. We've been playing Rummy Cube, which we love, but we haven't been playing a lot of Star Wars games recently. How about you guys? Josh says, Visions, Boba Fett, and the Mando Season 2 making of. What would you be most excited for? Honestly, what I'm most excited for, besides finishing the Bad Batch, is that I'm most excited for What If. I'm really excited for that series. I know it's not Star Wars related, but I'm very, very excited about that. Mark is here. What's up, Mark? Who was the clone with Rex and Gregor on the Desert World in Rebels Season 2? His name was Cut. And he's one that was in the Clone Wars, I think, Season 3, but his name was Cut. Yes. Oh, and Rebels Season 2. Sorry about that. I thought you meant in Bad Batch, second episode. It was Rex, Gregor, and Wolf, as Josh says. It's definitely Rex, Gregor, and Wolf. Christina says, Blake, I'm impatiently waiting for Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. We are too in our household, and it keeps getting pushed back. But when it finally does come out, that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be so much fun. Speaking of fun, it's been fun hanging out with each of you, talking some Star Wars. Next week, we are going to look at the next episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch, the penultimate episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch. And you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. I know we're going to have a lot of fun talking about it. And next week is going to be the last week where we do the show at 8 o'clock. We're going to move the show to a different time. I will be announcing that next week on Facebook Live. But yes, next week will be our last show for Monday at 8 o'clock. And then it will still be Mondays, but it will be a little bit earlier. Am I ready for school to start? I am ready for school to start, Corey. I mean, I'm certainly going to enjoy every last day of summer, but we go back late next week. I'll be ready to roll. May the Force be with you. Josh says, I don't think anyone truly is. Well, maybe not, but we'll just do our best. Terry, have a great week too. Mason's not ready, but I have a fun. You're going to love it, Mason. You know it's going to be super fun. Hey, Blake, it's great to have you, man. This is the best Star Wars community because of all of you. I'm so happy to be a part of it. Very happy to share Coffee with Kenobi with you, both here on Monday nights on the Facebook show, and of course, Thursdays, the regular podcast itself. Jason, thanks, buddy. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us in your house while we talk some Star Wars with you. Merry happy August to you. And Daniel, we will see you in the cafe as well. Enjoy the week, everybody. And remember, this is the podcast you're looking for. See you next time.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.